I have been looking forward to this watch for quite some time, ever since I first saw rendering and prototype images all the ways back to 2020. Yes, it has taken a long time for this watch to come to production. Even the pre-order went live last January, and the watches did not come in stock until this past December. And no, with the way things have been the past 3 years, they're not the only micro brand suffering major delays, and I can imagine being a new brand trying to get things off the ground didn't help. Yes, the Marin Instruments Skin Diver is the first model from this USA-based brand, and I'm sure many are thinking, why are you so excited about this piece? I will of course talk about this throughout this review, but sometimes you just see a piece and you fall in love. The design here is not going to revolutionize the microbrand watch world, it's just very appealing to me. The real question is, does it live up to the hype I had in my mind for over a year waiting for these pieces to finally get finished and sent to me for review? Let's find out. As usual, you will see all the specifications on screen, but this Marin Skin Diver does come in either this black dial called the Standard or a white dial dubbed the Polar. Pricing is a little on the high side, especially for a new micro brand at $1,150. These were on pre-order for a pretty good discount. I believe it was just about $9.95 for that pre-order, but that has long been over. The Polar Skin Diver is listed on the website as sold out, but in reality, it's never been in stock. There was an issue with the dials, and the owner of Marin decided to go forward, putting the standard black dial up for sale and get the pre-orders out for that one, and the others are still waiting on the white dial. Hopefully, it won't be too much longer. So let's start off. Why am I so enamored with this piece, especially considering the size, which is only 39 millimeters? As many of you know, 39 millimeters is not a size I gravitate to, but that is one of those things I have talked about for years. Specs don't always tell the whole story, not when it comes to quality and not when it comes to size. I showed this skin diver in my last video on the Nevada Pac-Man, and in that video you can clearly see the difference in how these two watches, both listed at the same size, look completely different. And they wear completely different as well. The bezel actually overlaps the case a little at 40 millimeters, and if you measure from 9 to 3, including the crown, you get a little over 42 millimeters, and the 48 millimeter lug to lug is on the small side, but take a look at that case profile, it reminds me of a Unimatic a little, especially with that straight no curve lug and the integrated crown guards. The overall look of this case and dial is what grabs me though. The thin case, the high profile true coin edge bezel, the simple but still attractive and eye-catching dial, and of course that unconventional bezel insert. And no, the bezel insert is not ceramic, obviously not sapphire, and it's not aluminum either. This is a stainless steel bezel insert that is PVD coated. And I'm just in love with the look of this watch, from that dial to the bezel, that rubber strap, but more on that rubber strap shortly. But let's dive a little deeper because I don't love everything. But firstly though, the standard black dial is limited to 300 units, and the Polar Skin Diver only 200 units, which probably contributes to the high price as well. I don't know if they plan on doing any more of this model, but they do have a pic on their website of an upcoming Fieldmaster model, which I believe uses the same case, if not very similar, and that has a great look as well, but that's in the very early stages of development. But okay, back to the things I don't love, and the first would just be the high polished case sides. This is purely subjective, of course. I talk about it all the time, and it's just my preference. Polished case sides are popular on many watches no matter the style, from Rolex to Squale and countless others. I would prefer a vertical or horizontal brushing, but while we are looking at the case, you will notice it does have drilled lugs, which are always welcome, especially on a tool diver such as this. But I do have another issue with the case, or I guess I should say the crown. It's probably a combination of things: the tight crown guards, the small crown, and the fact that the crown is polished as well. It all works together to kind of make this crown incredibly difficult to unscrew, set the time, and screw back down. Now maybe I'm over exaggerating a little bit, and I will say for me it wasn't like it was downright awful, but While I was doing photography and recording this video, having to set the time over and over, I realized the crown action was just not what I expected. Again, this is my experience, and most will probably not be using this crown as much as I did over the week while I was trying to get this review together, but I think many would probably agree with me when getting this one in hand. The actual crown action is smooth, no issues there. It's all about the grip or lack thereof and trying to screw it back down into those tight crown guards. The bezel action itself is great. It's easy to grasp due to that coin edge and the fact that it overhangs the case. It's fun and easy to turn, action is very smooth, and unlike many dive watches, this is a 60 click bezel, not 120, but again, the action is great. Now, as I have long talked about, I am not a diver. Never have been a diver, and at this stage of my life, I can comfortably say I never will be. So, I'm not sure about this bezel, the lack of the Lume pip and the 15-minute line, and how it would work if one actually wanted to dive with this. What I am sure about, though, is I love the look, if for nothing else, that it is different and it stands out. The dial is pretty simple, matte black dial, printed markers with applied lume, the date at the 3 o'clock position, and while I wouldn't say the dial text is kept to a minimum, I do wish watch brands would stop putting the word automatic on a dial, but it's not crazy, like a paragraph written out here or anything like that, and even though different fonts are all used, everything seems to work well in my opinion. Above the dial is a domed sapphire crystal with a blue internal AR coating, and it all adds to that vintage feel. Now, Marin says this is a tool watch, a modern dive watch that takes inspiration from the 60s but relies on function over fashion. This is probably most true when you're looking at the caseback. This is not your flashy stamped caseback. This is as plain as it gets. Again, it does remind me of the Pac-Man from the last video. This is a very simple caseback. The good part about it, it's flat and undecorated, and because of that, it sits very comfortably on the wrist. Powering this watch is the good old SW200-1. Now, before I discuss how it wears on my 7.5 inch or 19.05 centimeter wrist, let's talk about this strap. This is a custom rubber strap. This is natural rubber, and of course it reminds me of Bell & Ross straps with the strap flaring out underneath the lugs, then tapering down towards the buckle. I love this look on this style of skin diver, and that is probably another reason why this watch feels a little larger than its 39mm spec. At the lugs, it is 20mm, it flares out to 24mm, and then tapers to 16. This is a very comfortable strap, it's very pliable, but if you don't like it, it does have quick release pins, so take it off and put something else on it, and there is even a Maritag Zulu included in the packaging, including 2 spring bars as well. So on my wrist, this not only feels great, but it looks great, and it fits my wrist nicely even though it's a smaller piece. I could easily wear this watch for days without taking it off, and it doesn't feel small to me at all. And saving the best for last, the Lume. If you haven't seen this watch at all before this review, you were probably wondering with the Lume plots and this bezel if this thing lit up like it should, and as you can see, it surely does. This watch is a Lume king. It is bright, it's going to last pretty much throughout the night, and of course, it looks absolutely nuts in the dark. Your significant other will hate you if you wear this one to bed. So all things considered, I really do love this piece, though like I said, it's still not perfect. And as I've talked about many times, nothing really is perfect. We find faults with our loved ones, and of course, we can find faults with a watch that we love. The polished case sides I can deal with, but I do wish that the crown was easier to use. Maybe it's just my fat fingers. When it comes to pricing, like I said, I believe this was $9.95. Don't quote me on that, but that was a great deal for this watch at that price. But that price doesn't matter anyways, as now that price is basically $1,200, which is a lot of coin to shell out these days, especially for a new micro brand. The Marin Instruments Skin Diver looks awesome to me. It's very solidly built, and it's marked Swiss Made, so it has a lot going for it, but ultimately, you guys will decide if it's worth it. Let me know what you think of this Skin Diver down in the comment section below. I know many of you have been waiting on this one, so don't be shy. There will be a written review shortly at watchreport.com as well. You can find us on social media. It is at Watch Report, and we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hate social media, you say? I understand. Trust me. Just make sure to subscribe here and turn on notifications. That way you'll never miss a review. This is Don Evans from Watch Report. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.